What's up everybody? Welcome to another WarThunder pilot video. This is Worcestershire. Over the years I've poured countless hours into WarThunder, especially in air arcade battles. And like most players, I started off crashing more than I was climbing. But after a lot of trial and error, some hard lessons, and a few too many fiery explosions, I've picked up a handful of tips that seriously changed the game for me. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 5 key things I've learned that have made the biggest difference in my performance, and might just help you dominate the skies too. My first tip is kind of a no-brainer, but it's super important, and that's camera control. And I'm sure you've all heard keep your head on a swivel many times, but I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about keeping your eyes on the enemy during a dogfight at all times. And in order to do this, you need to have complete control of your camera, independent from controlling your plane. And in WarThunder, if you're using a mouse and keyboard, camera control is done with the mouse, which means you need to be controlling your plane's movement with keybinds. So I've got a setup where I'm using W and S for the elevator, A and D for ailerons, and Q and E for rudder. And I'm using those to control the plane's movement the entire time during a dogfight. And this basically frees up the mouse for camera control. I go into this in depth in a video about my control setup, which you'll find linked in the description. My next tip is for all you noobs out there, so listen up. You need to pay attention to your energy state. When I first started playing this game, I remember I used to just charge to the nearest fur ball and start turning and looping nonstop, and I might get a kill or two, but before you knew it, I had bled all my speed and I would get shot down. What you want to try to do before you enter any dogfight or fur ball situation is make sure you have either altitude or speed or both. One thing I like to do at the start of every match is just climb and try to get above most or all the enemy team. And that way you start every engagement with an advantage, an energy advantage. And if you find yourself in a prolonged turn fight and losing your speed, you usually still have enough altitude to get some of that energy back by just diving a little bit or doing a downward spiral. But in general, if you find yourself in a situation where you've lost a lot of speed and you've got enemies coming, try to extend away and get some of that speed back before you engage them. Otherwise, you might find yourself on the verge of stalling every time you try to do a loop, and you'll end up going so slow that you'll be a very easy kill for the enemy.
Because, guess the level, guess the level.
9.
7. Got a 9, a 7, anybody else? Anybody else?
Any takers? Any takers?
Where's he? Are you muted again?
No? Am I?
Okay.
I'm locked in here. I got a 1v2 going on.
He's locked in. It's a level 11. A level 11 was the number we were looking for. Hello. Hello.
Michael.
The next thing I learned that really improved my performance, especially in dogfights, is the use of flaps. Combat flaps help a plane by increasing lift and drag to improve turning ability and lower stall speed, which is beneficial in close quarters dogfighting and slow speed maneuvers. By using flaps, basically you're trading speed for maneuverability, allowing you to make tighter turns and stay in a fight at lower speeds without stalling. I would recommend, instead of using the toggle flaps keybind, use one keybind for flaps down and a separate keybind for flaps up. With this setup, you can go all the way to landing flaps if needed without having to drop your landing gear. In arcade, I really think the use of flaps is kind of a necessity, and I've used it many times even to beat more maneuverable planes. So if you haven't started using flaps, try it out. I think you'll notice a big difference. The next thing I learned that really took me to the next level was learning how to rudder turn. Just like using flaps, rudder turning is essential in arcade and can really help you turn inside of your opponent's turning circle and line up a shot. In a typical rudder turn, you're basically holding elevator and rudder at the same time. So it's elevator up and either rudder left or rudder right, depending on which way you're turning. I truly think the difference between a mediocre player and a good player is rudder turning. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you're flying a Zero or some maneuverable plane and you've been outturned by a less maneuverable plane? It's usually because your opponent was using rudder and flaps and you weren't. Nice. There's a little 3-piece right there. The last little tip that I got isn't like super essential, but it really makes a difference, especially if you're going head to head with other very skilled pilots, and that's throttle control. So instead of just being at max throttle all the time, sometimes it's beneficial to cut throttle a bit. It's similar to using flaps in that it slows your plane down, which enables you to turn tighter. In general, in turn fighting situations, if I need to, I'll cut throttle when I'm going down and max throttle when I'm going up. So that's the 5 things I learned that really made the biggest difference in improving my gameplay. If you can succeed in combining all 5 of those things, you'll end up being better than 90% of the players you run into. So that's it for this video, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a like, let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, take it easy guys, I'll see you in the next one. Hell yeah. Good fight.